Chase Haggard. Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
So, Mike, you said there's no ontology to logic?
No, there is. It's in the mind.
Okay, so the ontology exists in the mind?
The ontology of logic is brain chemistry, electrochemistry in the brain.
Okay, cool. So whatever I predicate as logic is just logic because it's produced by my mind then, because there's no actual external ontology to what's going on in my brain.
Yeah, so you can form logic in your brain, but the point is that valid logic has to have a specific configuration within the neural circuitry.
Well, you just imported valid. Let's slow down. You said that logic, ontologically, is just a product of the brain. So logic, to me, logic is sticky notes.
What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense.
Logic I agree. This is the result. It's a reductio ad absurdum of your view. Because logic is not something that actually has, let me finish, doesn't actually have ontological status. It's just a product of the brain. So my brain produced that this is logic. And you can't actually point to or account for some kind of ontological thing called logic outside of the brain. You need to accept that this is logic.
No, I don't have to, because that's false. Because logic, as defined as through empiricism and evidence,
well, as defined by wait.
Hey, you can't do this.
Slow down. You said before, logic is ontologically just produced and in the brain. My brain produced that sticky notes. This is what logic is.
Yeah, that would be a false statement because it's an identity error.
No, but now you're appealing to some kind of ontology outside of what's in the brain.
Listen, you're not listening to me. Ready?
Yeah, no, I'm holding you to your first premise.
Stop. Listen.
I'm not going to stop. Your first premise, does that still stand?
If you're not going to let me respond.
Hey, you do have to let him respond, Chase. Let him respond, Chase.
So you're changing your whole premise?
Let me respond.
Okay, go ahead. Change your premise.
So the statement logic is neurochemistry. That is empirically backed.
It doesn't. No. It doesn't matter what it's backed by.
Hold on.
I'm not holding on. I'm stopping you before you go on a gish gallop. It doesn't matter what you say it's backed by. If you say the ontology, listen. If you say the ontology is just
let me respond.
Okay, hang on. You're both talking at once. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Chase, please, hang on. We do have to let him finish his answer. We have to let him finish his answer, and then if you object to something in the middle, then go ahead when he's done.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
So when I say logic is neurochemistry, that is something backed by the evidence, and I use my logic to come to that conclusion logically. Now, when you say
let him finish, Chase. Hang on.
When you say logic is a piece of paper, well, that's definitionally false, because paper is not neurochemistry. That's an identity error, and we can empirically prove it with the evidence and logic.
Your first premise is that logic has no ontology outside of the brain. Based on that first premise now, you can't say that there's something beyond what I predicate as logic, beyond whatever I predicate as logic is produced by the brain. By me saying logic is sticky notes, you can't you're importing all this other stuff that I haven't granted. And based on your own first premise, you can't back up. And then you start importing hilarious, huge, sweeping statements. I interpret the evidence. Well, you are now importing a standard that you're going to need to evaluate good evidence and bad evidence. No, let me talk, Mike. Let me talk, Mike. Let me talk. Mike, let me talk, okay? I'm not finished yet. Okay, I'm not finished. There's that atheist love. So again, you're appealing now to some kind of ontological thing that you're going to appeal to for evaluating good evidence and bad evidence and what's logic and what's not logic. But based on your own premise of logic just being ontologically generated by the brain, I can say logic is this sticky note, and you can't point to anything.
Right. That would be like saying this phone is a tree. That's wrong, right?
Now you're appealing to ontology.
No, if you just let me,
if
you would just let me speak.
You're a nominalist.
No, listen. So the ontology of logic is brain chemistry, and that's something that we can empirically prove. When you say
proof is based on a system and appeals to, yes, it is.
Yes, it's based on empiricism and logic.
Which you would have to, but logic is what's in question right now. And if logic is just produced by the brain, you're appealing, focus. You're now appealing to all of these ontologies, and you've denied access to ontology because you're not. Let me finish. You cried about not letting people finish.
No.
Stop whining, Mike. Focus.
This is embarrassing.
I know
this is
it is
not how you
embarrassing.
debate somebody.
Just so you know, when you try to do,
hang on, you're both going. You're doing it again, guys. You're doing it again. Hang on. You're both talking at the same time, though. Nobody can understand you guys.
It has to be controlled.
I know. Listen. Hang on, Chase, please.
I'm
hang
the
on.
guy debating here. This is just.
I know. Hang on, Chase, please, Chase. We do have to give him the opportunity to respond. You are just the caller here. Okay, make your point brief so that he can respond to it, and then Mike, try to make your response brief because there's a lot of overlap with you guys talking. But go ahead, Chase.
So again, every time you just tried to appeal to the law of identity, you just said, well, this phone pointing to ontology linked to an idea and a concept of phone is a tree. You said, oh, you can't do that. On your worldview, because you're a nominalist, you can't actually say that there's ontology to tree, phone, logic, and something that's not logical.
Why not?
Because you can't account for ontology, like Fresh even just pointed out.
Why not?
Because they're produced in the brain.
Ontology. Yeah, give an account.
Because two brains. Because it's not here, Mike. Here's why. Here's why, Mike. I'll say the contradiction. Two different brains can produce two different ontologies about objects in the world.
Okay, and
is that logically possible under your view?
Yeah, but the person who's describing something that is fallacious would be a false.
How do you have a standard of what's fallacious and what's not?
By observing them.
I observed
and verifying that this.
Look, what?
Do you agree that I can verify that this is a phone and not a tree?
No, not in your worldview, not at all.
No. Why not? Why can't I observe this to be a phone?
What is the ontology of phone and of tree?
Empirics. There's
empirics leads you to truth. How do you account for that? And what is the ontology?
What do you mean? How do I?
Mike, what's the ontology of the word empirics?
What do you mean? How do I account for matter?
What's the ontology of the word empirics? What idea ontologically does that point to?
Listen. What do you mean I can't account for matter? What does that mean?
The idea of
categories.
Matter, when you say the word matter,
why can't I use my mind to describe
matter? Mike, I'm talking.
Why can't I use my mind to describe matter?
I'm talking.
Okay, hang on. Before you finish, Chase, we do need to make this your final. Chase, hang on. Mike, Chase, both of you, stop, guys, stop. Listen, Chase, need this to be your final point because we do have to move on. We got a bunch of callers still.
Yeah,
good.
I just think it's funny that the child cries about being dishonest and interrupting, and then he interrupts. But so again, you're appealing to when you say matter. How can I not account for matter? The word matter, you're using that word to point as a referent to point out an ontological idea. But you can't account for ontology, and you've negated having access to any. I'm talking, Mike. I'm talking. Mike, I'm talking. You can't account for these things. You've even admitted it.
It's through the mind.
It's through the mind, which is determined, and you have no verification principle to determine what's true or not.
Why can't I determine things to be verified?
What's your verification principle?
The idea that you can verify something to be true by observing.
Your verification principle is the idea that you can verify something to be true.
By comparative analysis, right?
And how do you compare what's true and false, Mike?
By observing these things and seeing if they comport to reality or not.
And how do you know what comports to reality?
By observing it.
Using logic?
Using my brain, yes, and my logic.
And logic has no ontological status. Thank you. This was very fun. Appreciate it.
The what doesn't have ontological status?
All right. Thank you for the call in, Chase. We can't continue it. It's just taking up too much time.
Matter